You're listening to Mark of the Maker. Hey everybody, I'm Mark Steiner and you're listening to Mark of the Maker, and this is another interview with an excellent guest. We've really been looking forward to doing this one, so we'll get to that in just a second. Let me introduce the folks I have with me. We have straight out of Missouri, Mr. Michael Birch.
Here, here.
And out of Southern Ohio, we have Mr. Sean Kendrick.
Hey.
And out of Gentry, Arkansas, Mr. Tom Crine.
Hello, everyone.
All right. So we have everybody here with us, which is great. So full panel this time. We want to say thank you to our Patreons. For folks who aren't familiar, there's a website called patreon.com, patreon.com, and it's a place where you can go and pledge a couple bucks or $1 or $5 or 10, but whatever you want to pledge every month to help support the show. This feels like I'm on one of those telethons for public television. You can go to Patreon and kick us a couple bucks a month if you enjoy the show. If not, that's okay too, but we want to say thank you to our Patreon supporters. They very much underwrite the show and help keep the gears turning here in Mark of the Maker land. So high five, and if you're interested, please check us out. You can search for Mark of the Maker on Patreon and find us there. We also, I would like to introduce, please cue the dramatic music, Michael, the adjunct professor of machining at Maysville Community and Technical College, Mr. Sean Kendrick.
Congrats, Sean. Professor
Sean is going to thank another one of our supporters.
Hey folks, we all live a hectic modern lifestyle, and if you can get all of your exotic materials in one stop, then why wouldn't you? Your family will love you because they'll get to see you more, and you can thank George Palagonia at American Metal Exchange for that. If you need titanium, zirconium, Damascus, mokutai, mokume, dark tie, or any of the other various exotics, you can get them all from George in one convenient place, and most of the time with free shipping. So why don't you guys head on over and check out American Metal Exchange Inc. The website's amxinc.com. That's amxinc.com.
So silky, man.
Dr. Kendrick.
Man, you know, you pump him up with the little intro and he delivers it smooth like butter.
That's how babies get made out there.
That's fantastic. Okay, we're jumping in the Wayback Machine, all the way back to episode 8. That's right, episode 8. This is that aired on March 26 of 2018. Hard to believe that this was 4 years ago. I think in COVID years, that's like 27 years, because that's how time seems to work in the post-COVID era. But we brought back our very first guest ever on Mark of the Maker, Mr. Nick Rossi.
Oh, man, that is me, and it is wonderful to be back. And yeah, great to be back with you guys and doing this again for a little bit of update, a little bit of fast forward.
Yeah, super cool, man.
Hey, Nick.
We appreciate you taking the time to chat with us. And yeah, a lot of water has been under the bridge since March of 2018. A lot of things have happened.
A lot has gone on since then. Yeah. I think for all of us. So, yeah.
Yeah. So maybe before we get started, Nick, could you just take a second for anybody who hasn't recently listened to episode 8, which is probably almost everyone, just remind folks about your kind of brand and what you do.
Yeah, well, if you guys don't know me, my name is Nick Rossi. I've been a knife enthusiast since probably I was like 6 or 7. Definitely influenced by The Princess Bride and Rambo movies. And I've been making knives for like 22 years now. So I've been doing it for a while. And I feel like after 22 years, I should be at least more famous. But it's been an awesome ride. apart from being a custom knife maker, and making, all sorts of different, different styled knives, I'm also an educator. I've taught all over the country, kind of spreading the love of the forged blade. I'm kind of associated with forged knives. Forging is a big part of what I do. But I kind of have to work hard to find a knife that I don't like. So I like, I'm any sort of knife I'm really pretty into, but I'm sort of associated with the forged blade, and that's kind of who I am.
Yeah. So you're a multi knife universe lover, but a forging maker.
Yeah, it's a part of the process that really, appeals to me, like the freedom of being able to start with a piece of metal and really kind of make anything that I can imagine is very appealing to me. But it's I definitely am a knife appreciator and sword appreciator, of all sorts.
Awesome.
It's a
And
good
the Rambo Princess Bride, great heritage there.
Yeah. It's it really covers the whole gamut of knife enthusiasm, I think.
It does.
Oh, dude, you're preaching to the choir. I'm there.
Yeah, I know.
We are all in. We are all in with you on that.
Totally.
All right, Michael, you want to take us into it, or you want me to, or what do you want to do?
Oh, let's see. Whatever you want to do. Now, we left you were doing a lot of teaching. You were kind of teaching all over the place, and you moved on from the New England School of Metal, and you're teaching other classes. How are they going, and what are you doing?
Well, yeah, and that's it. It was kind of, I mean, I think in a lot of our lives, we've kind of experienced a big like paradigm shift and kind of how we do business and how we make knives and kind of what we do. And it was really sort of the whole COVID thing that kind of, spurned sort of the next chapter in my career and in my life. And, prior to COVID, I was working full time at the New England School of Metalwork, and this sort of, this thing, it all sort of happened within a week, and we all sort of looked at one another and we were like, wow, in class, in person workshops, are kind of their days are numbered. This was like just at the start of COVID when we were all, really, really anxious about this whole thing, and kind of being, the New England School of Metalwork was really run by two people. That was the bladesmithing and blacksmithing program. And, I was kind of the low hanging fruit, and I was the first person to get COVID laid off. And that was pretty wild for me. I've been employed since I was, 13 years old. So, kind of being, cast upon to the world without gainful employment. And, it was really pretty weird. And this also came at the same time. So I was working a full-time job at NESM, and I was commuting to Portland, Maine, which is about an hour away from me, on the weekends to run my, Rossi knives, to run my custom knife making business. So I was teaching full-time, and I was kind of like, working almost a full-time, part-time job, making knives and selling them, going to shows and doing that whole thing. And in during this, so I used to be sharing a shop with some really, really good friends in Portland, who ran an awesome shop. It was a glass and metal studio, and it was really, really great. And we ended up actually kind of having a scare from our landlords. Like, they weren't sure if they were going to renew our lease, which was like a little terrifying to all of us, because, all of this stuff that we have is really, really heavy, and having to, move this heavy industrial equipment out of a shop sort of at a whim, it filled me with a lot of anxiety. And that's kind of when I started the process of trying to buy a commercial property, of trying to buy a building, which has, as you guys know, has all of its own issues. So that was kind of, this had happened pre-COVID, but I had started looking for a commercial property at that point. So I at the point that I was laid off, I had actually purchased a building after a lot of looking and consternation, and completely randomly, I kind of got tired of doing like the long commutes on the weekend to work, and I wanted something closer to me. And I managed to find something in the town that was next to me, the beautiful town of Vassalboro, Maine. And I found a building that was within my price range, in that I was able to purchase, which was a huge step in kind of pushing Rossi Knives forward. So it was like all these things that were sort of working together at the same time. And by the time I got laid off, I actually, I had this shop that was, it was pretty rough when it was purchased. And so, it came at the same time that I was doing that renovation. So it was really, really, like kind of fortuitous for me to be able to work on this shop and be able to, and kind of have that time, and which was a big thing, that I also had another shop to work out of, so I could kind of keep things going at the same time.
Yeah, sort of like a double-edged sword thing, like good deal and bad deal kind of at the same time, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what it was, and it was actually way more difficult for me to find a town and like a planning board that would accept someone that forges knives, because when you're getting into forging and stuff, you're really getting into a lot of like sort of like light industrial processes, and I found out that with my zoning, it would be like a light industry thing, and that really narrowed the types of places that I could either rent, or I could in fact purchase a building and do this without fear of like a code enforcement guy seeing what I'm doing and shutting me down, which is a big fear,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't a candy factory.
No, exactly. And there was a good friend of mine, a young Mr. Isaiah Washington, who was a friend of mine, who was working at the New England School of Metalwork, who was working out of a container outside his parents' house. And he got a big article in the paper about this young man who was making these beautiful knives in Auburn, Maine, and how cool that he was doing this. And the local code enforcement officer saw this, and he was just horrified, and he ended up getting shut down for that. And then they ended up doing another article about this poor young man who was just trying to make a living making knives, getting shut down by zoning. And so, he eventually found a commercial spot, and it worked out well for him. And he was briefly the most famous knife maker in Auburn, Maine. But like, I kind of thought about that, and I was really nervous that I would like buy a building and get eventually, shut down. So I really wanted to make sure that I was like to the letter of the law, and that it worked out. And luckily, beautiful Vassalboro, Maine, does not have any zoning, but you have to go in front of a planning board and state your case with a full site plan review. And it was a really, really stressful thing, because as a condition of sale, they had to approve this for me, and I had thousands of dollars into engineering at this point, so I had to go in front of them and I had to plead my case, and they had to make a decision, and if they said no, I would have been out really like a significant amount of money. So it was absolutely terrifying for me to get up there in front of these, it turns out, very, very nice people, who were very happy to have me in this town, and they thought it was a great idea, so it wound up working out. But it was like, I mean, you guys have all bought properties. It was like just highs and lows and all sorts of drama, whether it was going to go through, whether it wasn't. And thank God it wound up working out. So
Nick,
I'm really, really happy about that.
so I pulled up this town.
Yes.
It looks like it's pretty small. Do they turn anyone down?
You know what? I don't think they do, but that didn't stop me from being nervous.
Yes.
And in
Yeah.
fact, like, so Vassalboro was, and I totally forgot about this, but I was reminded after I bought the place that it was previously famous for Maine's own topless donut shop.
Oh,
That was in Vassalboro, and it was statewide known for this topless donut shop. So I bought this property and like, oh, it's in Vassalboro. I was like, that's the place with the topless donut shop. And it did really well until the boyfriend of one of the waitresses there tried to burn it down in the middle of the night.
Oh,
and
boy.
and he succeeded in doing that, but there was an entire family living in the adjacent building, and everyone managed to get out okay, but this guy ended up doing some serious time for burning down the topless donut shop. So this is like pretty high drama. So this is kind of what the town is associated with, and people feel free to bring it up to me.
It looks really pretty.
It's a gorgeous place, and so
on the
I
river.
live in Augusta, Maine, which is the capital, and in Waterville, Maine, you guys might be familiar with Colby College, which is a pretty well known, sort of sub Ivy League college. It's like right in between those two places, so it's a really nice location, and and they don't really care what I do, so it's a really nice relationship. So
That's kind of like the town I'm in. It's tiny and they don't care.
yeah, it's great. It's great. Yeah. So
I'm on Main Street.
that's awesome.
You should consider rekindling, even if it's just to draw people in, like Rossi topless donuts, and then in little parentheses in small print, and knives. And
Yeah,
then and then when they show up, you just have like a box of donuts on the counter in the front, and then if they, what about the topless? And you say, oh, COVID, people not showing up to work and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Hell
I
no,
mean,
just start taking your shirt off.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind whipping off my shirt to make a few bucks and sell a few donuts. I mean, this is knife making. So
Right.
So
Exactly.
got to do what I got to
Slow-mo.
do. But yeah, so that's
Right. Multiple revenue streams, Nick. That's how this works.
this is true. You got to be diverse in the arts, I'm told. So yeah.
Topless ghost tours.
Right. Got it all. There's all kinds of opportunity. That's wonderful.
Yep. Totally.
Birch, were you going to ask a question?
I don't remember what I was getting ready to ask. I got lost with the topless donuts and all that fun
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. So it's nice. So I've got a nice place with a nice setup, and like any shop, it's always a work in progress. So I'm still working on kind of getting set up there, and it's been going really good, and I've been kind of adding it machine by machine, and
Right.
it's been pretty profitable. So I can't complain.
Nick, has the situation that you were in the Portland studio with your friends, the glass shop and all that stuff kind of in one place, was that like almost like a cooperative thing where the people there each owned some of the equipment kind of deal, or was it primaried by somebody? Or I'm thinking about you. Were you able to take your equipment from there if you had stuff there? That's kind of where I'm going.
Yeah, and I was, we were definitely sharing a lot of equipment. Like, in fact, I just, my hydraulic press, I just ordered a hydraulic press, and that was the big thing that I was kind of using that shop, for. So I've got one of those. So I'm almost to the point where I'm caught up where I have the same amount. And also at the Portland shop, I still work there once a week. There's a Damascus artist, Jason Morrissey.
Yeah.
If you're not familiar with him, check out his work on Instagram. He makes amazing Damascus steel, and I'm down there a day a week just working on collab stuff. So I'm still really connected with that shop, and everyone there has been, totally awesome and supportive and kind of helping me. I can still work down there when I need to for, using the tools that, I don't have quite yet. So it's been a really great relationship. So
yeah, you talked before about how it was sort of a kind of arts co-op-y type of situation where everyone kind of had ideas, bounced back and forth, and I was wondering,
yes.
kind of lonely, I guess, now in your shop all by yourself.
Yeah, and I know a lot of you guys kind of work by yourself, and it's been really different to me to be isolated, and I've had to do things to kind of keep myself working with other people, because I found that that's a lot of where my creative growth comes from. So I do a day a week with other artists, and I've been teaching more all over the country, in different parts of the country. So I've been kind of introduced to more artists that I didn't know personally. And that's been really, really invigorating. And also, like, teaching a lot, like, I know when you're kind of working alone, you kind of almost forget like why you love this stuff. I don't know if that kind of makes sense, but if you're working alone, you're like, yeah, exactly. And like when you teach a class and you're with other people, like you kind of like find that joy again, and that's kind of like what keeps me going,
Yeah.
Yeah, but so.
That's really cool. I was going to ask about that. The collaboration stuff with Jason is awesome, right? And if only for the awesome factor alone, right? Cool to do the collab work, but also an outlet, right? Outlet, inlet, depending on how you look at it, right? A way to get some new things going, a way to work on some new ideas with another person of a very super high skill level, right? And then the teaching thing, you either have to do because you love it, right? Or it pays the bills, or maybe both. But that's a benefit that I didn't really think about, that's another I don't know, eye-opening, brain-opening opportunity to... You're doing that with other makers around generally, right? And new students that have different perspectives than maybe what you'd seen before.
Yeah, absolutely. And just like seeing the joy of someone that's never made a knife, make a knife start to finish in like 3 or 4 days. And like, they look at this thing they made and like, they are just like so pumped and so proud of themselves. And, it kind of makes you, you kind of remember like, wow, this stuff is really cool. It's easy.
Yeah.
It's easy to get jaded. It's easy to, you're surrounded by knives all the time, and it's easy to get kind of jaded. And that just kind of like is kind of that sort of mainline high of craft, of creating,
Yep. Yeah. We talk about that with the show, just even doing the podcast, right? We're not making stuff together, but we're talking about making stuff, right? We're talking about knives. We're doing history research on knives. We're doing these picks episodes. We got all kinds of stuff going on. And certainly I think for all 4 of us, it's been a really nice way to do the same thing, right? Remind us that this is why we love this stuff, right? Or that we don't really hate it, right? Or we aren't really tired of it, right? We just haven't spent the time on the fun part of it. And this show kind of lets us do that, which has been a really cool experience.
Yeah. And I listen to this podcast and I get pumped in the same way. It's just really invigorating and exciting, and that's kind of what it's all about.
Yeah.
No, I was going to say, do you teach at your new place, or is it?
So I'm not quite to the set up to the point where I can start teaching workshops at my place. I've got maybe 1,100 square feet, so it's not a really big space. So the goal is, like, once I start getting a few more pieces of equipment and start getting set up, for students, like, you really have to have an entire student setup of like anvil, tongs, forge, all that stuff that's like just for student use only, because part of the nature of teaching is that students are pretty hard on equipment, and you can't have students sort of like destroying your nice stuff. So getting a whole full like, brace of student hammers and tongs and all that stuff is definitely a big part of it. So I'm thinking 2023 is going to be the year that I'm going to be set up enough where I'll be able to teach, private lessons in small workshops in my shop. But mostly I'm just trying to get set up enough so that I am fully optimized as an independent manufacturer of fine cutlery before I kind of move on to that. So.
Does that take on more like insurance issues and things like that too? Once you get into that, is that even more of a problem, or?
Actually, like, I've got a great insurance company, and surprisingly for me, it's not. It's actually a pretty easy transition, but you really do. I mean, that's a big part of this stuff. Like, that's a whole, there's a lot of risk involved in this stuff. It's all dangerous, it's all.
Yeah.
I mean, everything in a shop is like sharp, dirty, or dangerous or hot. So it's it's something that you do have to consider. And you want a space to be as safe as possible, and that's kind of where I want to be.
Yeah, it seems like this year is a big year for a lot of people taking on workshops and knife classes. I think it's going to be a very big thing this year. I think it's just kind of been growing the last few years, but that's something I'm always kind of like, I wonder if people taking this into consideration, the liability aspect of it.
A bunch of our friends are teaching and taking classes, right? I mean, that seems a very common topic lately. You're right.
Yes. And also, I would say that there are more wonderful places and more wonderful instructors, to take advantage of than has ever been. I mean, in the last 100 years, maybe. So, if you're, you should be, if you're teaching classes, then you should certainly be taking classes. So yeah, I could definitely see that.
So tell us more about the classes, Nick. What kind of stuff do you teach, and maybe a little bit about these classes that you're teaching, what you take away from it?
Well, I've got a pretty good schedule lined up for the year. And mostly I'm doing my workshops at other craft schools. For instance, I've got a class this summer at Peters Valley School for Craft, which is a basic kitchen knife class. And Peters Valley is in Layton, New Jersey, which is just, people hear New Jersey and it sounds scary, but it is truly one of the most beautiful places I have ever been. And like that is like a 5-day workshop where, you using a coal forge and using pretty traditional techniques, you make a kitchen knife from start to finish. And like that's a really rewarding workshop. I'm doing a class at the Touchstone School for Craft, sort of on more Eastern style chef's knives. I'll be back at Desert Metal Craft in Tucson, Arizona.
Oh yeah.
Doing a forged friction folder class. A couple weeks ago, I was down at Dragon's Breath Forge in Walcott, Connecticut, doing another friction folder class. So I'm kind of all over the place, and it's really, really fun to go to different parts of the country and kind of meet, new, different, interesting people and see new workshops and new ways of doing things. So.
Oh, I bet so. I bet just seeing other places is got to be like, oh, that's how you set up your stuff. That's way different and more efficient than how I'm doing it. Or I don't know. I like that aspect of just seeing shops too.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, and some of the stuff is just so simple. Like you see something and like you almost want to, and you see one thing and you see how it could save you hours and hours a week, and you almost want to go sit outside and hold your head in your hands and be like, why didn't I think of this? Like, like it's so simple. So things like that are worth traveling across the country, even if you get that one tip, it pays dividends. So
how do you find them, or did they find you? How did you book, this type of thing? It's almost like you're a touring musician or something. It's
yeah. I've kind of got a little bit of a reputation at this point, like a good reputation, I should say, of like, being able to put on, a good consistent workshop and not being like real, like fussy or a pain in the ass. And you know, and that kind of gets around, you know, and I get approached by these schools, and they say, hey, you know, do you want to teach a class here? Like, what do you want to do? And you know, and I say, yeah, that sounds like fun. And you know, I kind of tell them, you know, what I want to do, and kind of that's based upon sort of their restrictions as far as what sort of tools they have. And you know, because a lot of these schools focus on like blacksmithing stuff, and kind of they dabble in bladesmithing. So you know, you don't have 8 belt sanders necessarily. You have maybe 4 belt sanders for 8 people, you know. So you have to kind of plan the class for that, or bring a sander with you. So you know, it kind of presents interesting sort of problems, and I kind of enjoy working through that, and you know, kind of making like the absolute best products we can with kind of the tools that we have available to us. So yeah, it kind of it's an extra challenge for me to be able to go into a new place and teach a bunch of workshops with a bunch of strangers. So
Right.
That just gives me anxiety thinking about it.
I was just thinking that exact thing. I'm like, oh, Bert would hate that so bad.
yeah, you know, and it's like, you know, and like if it's a place I haven't gone, then the equipment that I will bring with me will be very different than if it's a place I've been and it's a known quantity.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'll throw a disc sander or an extra belt sander in my car, like just in case it kind of comes to that, you know, and you know, it's always worked out, knock on wood. So
Nice. So probably a bunch of ways this helps you, right? Like you said, you get the joy of seeing someone who you taught, right, do something that is super cool, right? Something they think is super cool, right? Like they've accomplished something. That's a very empowering thing. I love that when I teach young engineers something new, and you know what I mean? Then see them use it. It's like, kick ass, right? Go get him, Tiger. So that's really cool. The shop tip thing is a really interesting one. And it seems like the networking piece of this, right? The more of this stuff you do on the road and other places, it seems like it only helps that reputation networking thing that starts to pull on you to go do more of it, right?
yes, that's definitely a big part of it. And also a big part of it is that a lot of these schools like Peters Valley and like Touchstone, for example, they also have 5 other workshops running at the same time. They've got a fiber workshop, they've got a glass workshop, they've got a ceramics workshop, they've got woodworking. And so you have all these people from different disciplines all kind of, you know, living together and working together. And, you know, that is like maybe the most invigorating thing, you know, of being able to hang out with people of different crafts and different disciplines, and, you know, and looking kind of beyond your own craft.
Right.
That's really pretty exciting. So that's kind of the rest, like the other piece of the puzzle that makes it so much fun.
Yeah.
No. Is that fairly like new, or is that something that's been around where you live for quite some time?
You know, it's been around. I would say that there was this kind of renaissance in the 50s that kind of went through the 70s of sort of the craft school experience. You know, it started with like Penland and Haystack up in Maine. You know, kind of these craft communities that were designed basically for the express purpose of getting people of different disciplines together to spend time with one another. And, you know, and it was big with the kind of 70s, like back to the land movement and kind of the people getting more interested in hand skills. So it's a thing that has been, you know, a part of the craft and art culture for a while, you know.
I had no idea. I mean, we have the Tom McGinnis's school here in Ozark that he passed away some time ago, but I'm not sure if his school still goes. But other than that, I mean, it just wasn't a thing that was around here. And now there's a few more that popped up, I think because of the Forge and Fire kind of success.
Yes.
But I didn't know that there was such a huge crafting community out there before this kind of social media renaissance of crafts and hands-on stuff.
Yeah, you know, and it's something that I did not know about until, you know, fairly recently. And you know, and it's interesting, it's kind of been like kind of like a hoity-toity craft elite sort of thing. Like you kind of had to have an MFA to teach at a lot of these places for a while. And it's kind of moving away from that, to just, now that like maker culture is kind of a new thing. So it's kind of more available to the people than it's ever been, which is great.
I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, it's cool.
So Nick, have you taken any classes at some of the schools that you're teaching at?
You know what? I haven't. I've been so focused on just getting the shop going and, keeping all the bills paid and all that stuff that I have not had a lot of time for craft leisure in the last 2 years, which is too bad. And, I'm trying to get back into it, but I'm hoping that next year will be my year when I can take a jewelry class, or something like that,
Yeah, I would love to take like a bowl carving class or something like that. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I agree. And people are always like, "Well, aren't you going to take the blacksmithing class?" And I was like, "Absolutely not." I've no. I would want to take, like you said, like a bowl carving class or a jewelry class or something. Anything else.
Yeah. So when you're going to teach, you mentioned taking stuff with you. How do you fit that in the Pantera?
Does
that fit? Do you have a trailer or does it fit inside?
It's a trailer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
I would say that is not the long distance craft school, visit mobile that you might think it is. You can basically fit like another, like a driver, another person, and maybe like a backpack if it was empty and you folded it up really, really tight. Like those are the things that you can fit in a Di Tommaso Pantera. So no, I've got a Subaru
trailer?
Forester. Yeah. So yes.
Oh, you got a Forester?
I've got a Forester.
Cool. I think I'm going to have one this month.
Yeah, it is like the perfect, compromise mobile, I think.
I've got a Subaru Outback and basically I think we're going to downsize now that we don't have the kids, so.
Wow,
yeah, a Forester would be a good choice.
I've got one on order and it's shipped, so I think it'll be this month.
It's very sensible.
It's very sensible, and also like being in Maine. I have a black Subaru Forester, and not so long ago, I came out of the grocery store and I was desperately trying to get into a black Subaru Forester, and I'm clicking the button and I can't get in, and I look in and there's like a baby seat in there, and like I don't have a baby, and I was like, this is not my car. I'm trying to get into another person's black Forester, so. In Maine, it is like the vehicle of choice.
And not only can I not get in my car, but someone stuck a baby seat in there. Who did this?
How rude. Yeah.
And a sweet Monte Carlo, right? Somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, I've still got the Monty. Like all of my project cars are kind of like, in stasis right now, but
yeah.
I'm hoping to get the 76 Monte Carlo on the road. I need something to cruise around in that's cool for this summer coming up. So
absolutely.
That's
you mean other than the Subaru Forester?
Right.
Yeah, that doesn't really turn heads anywhere, around here. So
yeah, that's the camo vehicle in Maine. You want to blend in, you get a Forester.
Exactly.
So funny. So you've taught how many people, if you had to take a guess, just a completely wild guess, how many people have you taught a knife making class to, do you think?
Oh God. I can't even. I basically taught full time for 9 years straight, and I taught twice a year from 2006 to 2011, and I can't. A lot of people.
Hundreds, thousands, maybe thousands in the thousands.
Hundreds and hundreds. I don't know. I would have to do the math, and I'm not great at math, so.
So I tap out on this question.
Yeah. I'm tapping out a lot. Let's just say
yes.
Let's just say it's been a lot.
So you've taught a ton of people. Have any of them gone on to like become makers and do their own thing? I have to assume so, even if as hobby makers. I know we have a couple in our Mark of the Maker Facebook group that have gone to your school.
Yes. There's been some students that have really taken it very, very far and have become really great knife makers in their own right. Matt Beauvais, who's a great friend of the show. He's really working hard, and my friend Eliane LeBlanc, who she has just been making the most beautiful chef's knives, and she's a great craftsperson, in her own right. But there have been a few students that have really kind of made me proud, and I don't really see that as a big deal. I don't really see it as important that my students go on to be better, but just to make a knife and have a great time and kind of expand their horizons to kind of understand what it takes is kind of the big thing. So even if someone takes my class and never ever makes a knife again, they still have that experience with them, and they kind of have that understanding, and that opens a lot of doors for people. So I don't really. It doesn't bug me if someone takes a class and was like, that's great. I never want to do that again. That's fine. I get that.
Yeah.
Well, I think as a collector, it opens their eyes. I think that's one of the reasons I want to do a school is for not just makers, but collectors, because they can come and they have that intimate relationship with a maker, and they learn how to do something and know what goes into it, and they learn what to look for.
Yeah. And a lot of them realize that wow, this is horrible. This is this is so much work. And I never knew there were so many steps, and
hard and dirty work.
You get that sort of level of appreciation,
Yeah. But we talk a lot over the course of all these episodes about this idea of a knife family tree, right? Where it's people learn from other people and they go on and do their thing in some cases, and then they teach some other people. And there's this lineage that you can trace back that has these, various branches. And I think that's really, really cool. So like you said, it might not be something that you have to, this the only way I can be successful doing is this if my students go on to do big things. But at the same time, it has to be really cool, right? To hey, this is nice, right? I paid this forward to somebody else. They have a new skill, and look at that. They're kicking ass. That's awesome. And then maybe some day down the road they teach, and then you're a knife grandpa.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Knife babies out there.
A knife daddy. Yeah.
Knife daddy. Yeah. That's nice. Nice.
New name of the school.
Yep. There you go.
I don't know. I'll think about it.
I don't know.
You shouldn't have said that.
Now, haven't you been teaching some online courses too?
Yes. Yeah, and that's been a big part of the thing, cuz I kind of resisted doing online education for a long time because I was like, oh, well, it's not totally pure to have this experience, with a bunch of other people. And and I got to the point where I really realized there are a lot of people out there who, to be able to take the time off and to go to one of these schools, which is never close to anybody, and to take a week of PTO off. And I don't know. I mean, a lot of people, sometimes they like to take their vacation time and do things with their family or loved ones. So, there are people that like
some people.
Some people. So, to be able to, I understand that it's tough to tell your family, it's look, I'm going to do some industrial, revolution stuff, without you. And go take this class, and it's going to be really expensive, and I'm going to be gone for a while, and I'm going to come back burnt and blistered. It can be a hard sell. So I realize that there's a demographic of people that, that working in their own home shop and given sort of the right level of education can really learn a lot from online stuff. And I'm pretty happy with the products that I'm seeing for people taking. So I have a complete online chef's knife class. It's three sort of steps. It's 3 videos. How to make a chef's knife start to finish, kind of broken down, into its minutia. Every step is covered. So it's a step-by-step how to make a chef's knife from start to finish in your own shop with very, very simple tools. And God, the knives people are making are unbelievable. So I feel like I've kind of achieved what I wanted with this online education. So it's been really kind of nice to see what people are doing with just the videos in their own shop without me necessarily standing there yelling at them the whole time.
Right. Yelling at them virtually with a video.
Yeah, virtually. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's been really, really great. If you guys have an interest with that, you can check it out on my website. It's just nickrossyknives.com under online education. It's got a full breakdown of the tools required, to be successful with that. So that's been really, really fun, and making the videos has been fun. And I've had the help of a young gentleman named Mr. Jacob Ward, who comes over and helps me with my filming. And I really struggle with sounding natural kind of on camera. And this young man, young Jacob, like, he wants to learn this stuff. So I've been kind of pretending like I'm teaching him with him standing behind the camera. So it's allowed me to kind of, get that in-person experience of taking a class from me, on camera. So that was kind of, it took me a while to figure that out, but it's been working out pretty well.
You can just watch through your camera.
Yeah, exactly.
Michael, did you say you watch the videos?
No, I need to.
Oh, okay.
I need to take that class.
I was going to say, you with the forge and press and doing your thing over there.
Man, I know you are Mr. Hybrid forged CNC knife maker now. It's been so fun to watch.
It's a weird path to take, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I would say it's Vanguard. Next generation.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Man, nobody ever changed the thing by doing shit the way it's always been done.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's right.
A lot of questions asked to Nick about press things and holes and things I would need or not need and all sorts of stuff. He was very helpful.
Oh, good. I'm glad it was helpful. But it's been a really, and it's just this wonderful combination of like 21st century technology with 18th century technology, and there's a in the knife world there's a lot of dogma kind of associated with like production, and how knives are made and stuff like that, and it's nice to turn that on its ear and to kind of forge forward, no pun intended. So it's been awesome to see.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
That's really cool. So Michael, do you want to give your online Yelp review? Nick Rossi, phone a friend advice. How many stars?
Oh, it's 5 stars just for the.
Thank you.
Yeah. All the way.
Michael in Ozark weighs in.
You might consider him my knife daddy.
Oh,
I told you. I didn't think I could use it so quickly though.
There it is.
Great.
Just what I always wanted.
Yeah. It could be worse. I'll take it in this case. So yeah.
So when you, like you said, it's kind of a weird thing to go from live teaching to the video thing, and you talked a little bit about kind of how you got into the role, sort of as the on-screen guy, right? But like, what? How did you go through the mental process of taking that from this looks like a douchey thing to do, or whatever it looked like in your head, right?
Yeah.
To this is something that I do want to do. What helped you get to that point?
Well, the only thing that saved me is I knew that my in-person teaching worked.
Right.
So if I could get as close as I could to what it's like to be with me in person in a workshop, I knew that there was going to be success. I knew that it would be okay. So it was mostly me tricking myself into pretending like it was a private lesson. Basically, that was kind of what got me to have it work.
So, what is your favorite part of teaching, or what is your favorite version of your teaching? Is it the kitchen knife? Is it the friction folders? What class do you think you enjoy the most?
I would say that the topic doesn't really matter. Whatever I'm teaching, for me, it's really pretty stressful until we get to the last couple hours of classes, and like all the knives are starting to really look like knives. And so this is kind of an interesting thing about teaching workshops. And it's proven to be true in every workshop I've ever taught. So all the random people I get bringing all sorts of skills and all sorts of experiences to a workshop and all working together, they all are good at different parts of the process. They all kind of take one or two parts. They take to it very naturally. And there's a lot of like anxiety when people see themselves falling behind, but I've never had a class where the entire class wasn't 20 minutes between one another at the end of the class. Like their knives were 20 minutes away from each other from being completed and done. So It always is amazing to me that the sort of experiences that people have make them better at different parts of the process. And like some things they struggle with and some things they don't, but everyone almost always comes together at the end of the workshop, which is probably the most amazing part and my favorite part, because it always kind of works out that way.
I think you have to give yourself a little credit as a teacher for making that happen too. That's not just, chance. There's something to do with that, but there's also something to do with just kind of the different strengths that people kind of bring to the table,
Yeah. Maybe the group aspect of it helps too, right? Do you see the students kind of watching one another and kind of learning from each other as they're kind of working their way through this thing?
Yeah. Yes, yeah. Absolutely. Like a bunch of people working together and like, cheering each other on and, and also like at a lot of these workshops, which is really fun, there's also evening hours. So, you work during the day and a lot of people are staying on campus. So from after dinner to, to whenever we feel like stopping, it's just free forging. So everyone can come down and like we turn on the music, like, we rock out. And like we just vibe. Like there's just a great time of people experimenting and working on their projects or working on something that they had in their mind. So, that's another really kind of exciting, it's almost like you kind of create this vortex with all these people working together. So it's really, really cool.
Yeah, that's the piece you miss, I guess, doing the online thing. But
it is.
Like you said, we've preached many episodes about how people should try if they can to get to a knife show, and they don't have to go to 6 shows a year or whatever, but get to one just so you can have that experience. And at the same time, it's not really fair to have that as some kind of bar, right? To say, oh, well, really, you haven't been to a show in person? Well, then you must not really be that much of a collector. You know what I mean? And sometimes that people do that, and I don't think it's very fair because, like you said, not everybody can do it. It's a huge commitment to go do that stuff. And not everybody's family is down to just have them take off and go do that kind of stuff, right? Like you said, oh yeah, I'm going to go potentially get brutally injured in doing something that I have no idea about, right? That's a hard pitch to make. But when someone who hasn't done this before, like people that are listening, they're like, oh, you know what? Nick's coming to my state or going to be nearby, or he's going to do a class nearby. I wonder if I should come do it. What's your advice for people if they were to decide, you know what, I'm going to sign up for a class? Like, how should they come into it? Just super open mind, ready to try whatever, or should they do some kind of prep work, or where should they be mentally?
I just think that like the the worst thing that you can do as a student is kind of pay attention too much to what other people are doing in a class, because like
Okay.
I see people like comparing themselves to like other people in workshops, and people do bring a lot of different experiences to classes, and like, you know, people see that I'm teaching a class and I'll get a lot of like solid intermediate students maybe in my seasoned beginner classes, and like they just naturally move through things faster, and like, you know, and I see like people that have never done it before kind of looking at them and having it like looking like it comes really easy to them.
Yeah.
And it's not coming easy to them. They've taken a bunch of workshops. So I would say that just have it in mind, like, you know, don't compare yourself to what other people are doing, and just kind of like be in the moment and enjoy the experience. And, you know, and I know that that's really, really hard to do. But that would be like my best advice, and just like be relaxed and, you know, just let yourself have a good time.
Yeah. That sounds like fun.
Yeah, and it's also you should keep in mind that it's really hard, and and you know, there's also a degree of pain involved.
Right.
So you know, like there is like it's real work. It's like full on real work. So yeah, you're gonna get hot, you're gonna get tired, you know, and you're gonna feel like you climbed a mountain at the end of it, and like that's why it's fun. You know, it's hard, it's dangerous. You know, like that's why we're doing this. You know.
Very cool. It seems like it could be a really good self-confidence builder even for someone, right? To go do something like this, just to have that experience of, you know, actually making it through and going through the tough part. And I don't know, it seems like it'd be a very positive thing for people at a personal level.
It is, and like you can really see like the joy on people's face at the end of the class, like looking at this thing that, you know, it's a real journey, and you look at this thing at the end of the class that you made, and it's really like quite beautiful and totally functional, and you know, that's kind of what it's all about, and that's also what I enjoy. I still, after 20 whatever years of doing this, it's still really, really satisfying.
So do you come at it like as a kindly, supportive type of guy teacher, or is it like a Terrence Fletcher sort of situation? Sorry, I watched Whiplash again for like the 50th time last night.
For the kids at home, explain Terrence Fletcher, because
I don't know what this is. You're gonna have to explain this.
The movie Whiplash.
I've not seen this movie.
Oh, possibly one of the greatest movies ever made about becoming great. Do you want to be great? Do you want to work hard at it, or do you want to be mediocre? It's pretty rough as far as his teaching, how he teaches his band guys.
Well, you know, I will have to check that out, and I don't know the reference, but I can tell you that, you know, like kind of
nobody
like,
does.
Yeah, kind of like how I deal with people. You know, if you're a beginner and you've never done this before, like, you know, you're gonna get a lot of leeway. But you know, if you come to me and like, you know, you tell me that like you want to be like a custom knife maker, like you say you want to do this for a living, and you want this to be part of your life, it's a different experience for me. You know, because like obviously you're coming to me for some real advice. You know, you obviously like wanna, you know, so I'm gonna be a little bit harder on that type of student. And you know, and I feel like it's my duty to give people, you know, like the straight business. So
yeah, I gotcha.
Separating the enrichment experience from the, hey, I think I really want to make a go of this. That makes total sense.
It's a different thing. It's a different thing.
Yeah. I'm just sad you didn't know what I was talking about.
Well, I'll definitely check it out. I'll check it out.
Yeah, for what we do and for how we treat it, it's an important movie for me, I guess.
Okay. Wow. All right, good to know. Good to know.
All right, well, let's move
Michael's movie reviews. We have a new section of the show. I like it.
Yeah.
Movies you never heard of with Michael Birch.
Oh, it was a popular movie.
I know.
I think. Right.
When you brought up the band thing, okay, now I think I know the movie you're talking about. But
yeah, it's got that great quote. It's like the two most harmful words in the English language are "good job."
Yeah.
Oh, I like that. Is this streaming anywhere? Can you give us,
It's back on Hulu.
Okay. All right.
Nick's going to go learn some tips.
I am.
Tough love tips. Too funny. All right. What else we got, fellas?
Man, we got lots of stuff to talk about. Sean, you want to hit one?
Yeah, man. How's the first full year of being a full-time knife maker treating you?
Oh man, you know what? It's like kind of heaven in a lot of ways. It's very stressful. It's very stressful being a self-employed person of any kind. But just like going into the shop and being able to be like, I got to make knives all day. Like it's really lovely. So it's been great for me, and obviously like I've been doing this for a long time. So I have like the best customers ever that are like super supportive, and I can't say enough good things about them. So that's kind of what's been pulling me through and making this like this work. But making knives every day, God, it's awesome. It's just awesome.
So what's your process now? Now that you've set up in your own shop, what do you forge a lot at once? Do you have a set, like, this is what I'm going to make this week? What's your process on that?
So, I'm sure similar to you guys, like it's most efficient if I batch stuff out. So, if I like have a request for, like 2 paring knives, it doesn't make sense for me to make 2 paring knives. I make 8 paring knives because it doesn't take that much longer to make 8 than it does 2. So I kind of batch stuff together. If I'm forging, obviously it doesn't make sense to turn the forge on to only forge one thing. So I try to batch stuff together. I try and keep stuff that is like similar construction together, and consistent in that sense, just to keep me sort of in the same headspace, doing the same processes at once. A lot less machine setup and stuff like that. So I find that I do best when there's like a show to get ready for. Like I really feel like, hey, I'm rocking and rolling, and I can work on a bunch of stuff at once. So that kind of makes me pumped. So
that little bit of anxiety and little drive does not hurt at all.
Oh,
when it comes to shows and stuff like that. It's real easy to get lackadaisical or just be. And I found, like you said, like, there's no point in turning the forge on, because I'll find ways to like walk in, turn the grinder on, do something for a little bit, set it down. But that forge thing is like, yeah, I better have a stack of shit to do before I even turn it on. Otherwise, there's no point in it. It's too much of a waste of time.
Yeah, absolutely. And like smithing in general, like repetition is the craft. Like doing multiples is the craft. Like, you don't make one of anything, like ever. So, kind of developing that sort of repetition and muscle memory, I'm still working on that every batch I do.
I'm kind of curious, Nick. Since you're working for yourself and it's a new thing, and we're all artists, so it's kind of a different thing also. Do you try to work to set hours? Do you kind of force yourself to get up and go to work and then stay at a certain time, or are you more eclectic in your hours, or how does that work for you?
No, it's a job. I treat it, I get up at the same time and I'm into the shop by a certain time, and I work to a certain time, and that's when I get to leave. I'm still on the like 6 days a week schedule at this point. Like I'm still like kind of building the shop, so like having two weekend days is like that sort of luxury that I hope to see in the future. I don't know if you guys have gotten to.
I'm still on the 6-day schedule.
Yeah. I think that's probably going to be something that I'm going to be dealing with for the foreseeable future. But but yeah.
Well, I like to work 6 days, because then, like, I just took a long weekend and we took 5 days, so it's like I can schedule time off, but it's kind of like putting money in the bank, because in the time bank, because as we work for ourselves, if we don't work, we don't get paid.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, and there's a lot of anxiety, like, you know, you'll be like at home trying to relax and you're like thinking, I should be making a few bucks right now, you know.
What about organizing your work, Nick? Do you have like some way that you have kind of a plan laid out, or is it more like start batches and kind of work the batches through the different steps, and then okay, maybe I'll try making these now, or I have people asking about this, or like you said, I have a show coming up. Do you have any kind of structure to it, or is it more of a flow thing?
You know, it's more of a flow thing. Like if I have to do, if I have to do one thing, then I'll turn it into, you know, like a multiple sort of batch project thing. And then maybe like, I'll just put those 5-6 inch chef's knife blanks, you know, I'll hang them on the wall. And then when I've got a show coming up, it's a lot easier to just have to deal with getting ready for that, you know, to just do handles and just do grinding. You know, so I always try and have forgings like in reserve, or kind of parts in reserve, you know, so it's a little less painful for me, like when a really good customer is like, hey, you know, I need this thing, you know, soon. So it makes it a little bit easier to kind of say, yeah, no problem.
Right.
So how do you sell your knives these days? How do customers go about finding one of your knives and getting one?
Well, you know, I take certain orders, and I you know, I almost don't want to say that out loud on a podcast, but I do take, you know, like stuff that's kind of in my wheelhouse. And you know, I've got enough of sort of like a clientele at this point where, you know, people say like, well, I'm looking for this, you know, like whenever you get it done, can you let me know? And I kind of put it on the board, and, you know, when I'm doing a batch of that, like I say, hey, do you want this? You know, if not, no big deal. So I do that, you know, and then, you know, there's all the stuff that I just get a wild hair and I just have to like make something, and I'll just make it, and I'll throw it on Instagram or whatever, you know. So that stuff is just like the sort of, you know, me, like, just like, I'm sick of making paring knives and I just have to like bust out. So, you know, I'll make something and I'll kind of throw that out there. And, you know, I still do a reasonable amount of retail stuff. I work with the Maine Crafts Association, and they've got 2 retail stores, and they're awesome to deal with, you know. So I'll drop off like some stuff to them, you know, some stuff that I think that will sell and that will appeal to their clients, and, you know, and they do really well by me. And, you know, it kind of brings me, you know, I kind of see it as marketing. It's like to people that maybe have never seen a custom knife in their life. You know, they go into a store and they're like, you know, look at this kitchen knife. Like, I've never seen anything like that. You know, so that's kind of a fun way to get my work out in front of people. And, you know, I do the like the usual brace of like fine craft shows, you know, like I've mentioned before, like Maine has a lot of really high end crafts people. So I do a lot of fine craft show. I'm now a Maine Craft Guild member, which is sort of the top tier of like juried Maine craft shows. So that's kind of opened up a few shows to me, and I keep on hoping like Martha Stewart shows up to those shows all the time, and like I'm kind of hoping for my Martha moment, but she hasn't she hasn't shown up, you know. I keep on hoping that she'll just show up and take me away.
Yeah
That's
no doubt.
an interesting fantasy.
Hey, whatever works for you, man. That's where I'm at.
Seeing those kind of like art co-op or whatever type of things that I see you at, it looks fun. It looks like a good environment to sell. I mean, we have like farmers markets around here, but it's, you know, the usual, you know, honey and whatever sort of stuff.
Yeah, you know, like Maine is really good for that sort of like fine craft, and there's a lot of there's a demographic of people that really support that industry, and it's great. And like all the other crafters are just like the nicest people in the world, and, you know, another one of those things that sort of gets you pumped about making stuff, just being with people that are pumped about making stuff, you know, just like-minded people that are just doing something else, you know.
Yeah, that would be fantastic.
So your full year of full-time knife making, that's like very specific. So you've been doing this stuff forever and doing like a job and 3/4, it sort of sounds like, for a long time, right? Or job and a half kind of thing.
Yeah.
But this is really just focused on specifically your stuff, with the occasional, I'm going to go teach a class, come back and keep rocking on my own products. That's that year.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And there was a lot of like anxiety and like hand wringing and trepidation, but it's worked out really, really well. It's been good. And the whole culinary industry, it is like a juggernaut. Like, it has, probably doubled, especially with like COVID and people stuck at home and people baking and people cooking. There's like more interest in it than ever before. So it's been exciting to see. So I used to work in a retail knife store. I got a job as a retail knife salesperson when I was 15 years old, and I worked in this knife store for 10 years. And this store has become a more of a kitchen store as well as a knife store, and I still keep in contact with them, and they've had the best couple years of their entire existence, just because of this interest in baking and cooking and people, like making food themselves, which really works out really, really well for me, like being, I would say, almost primarily a kitchen knife maker at this point. This kind of movement behind this is really, really cool.
Yeah, it seemed like it was on the way to exploding as far as number of makers, even in the blade show or two prior to COVID, right? Where it's like you'd go and it's like, holy shit, there's a ton of kitchen knife guys here, right? Like, so many kitchen makers, and other podcasts, maybe many podcasts that are dedicated to kitchen knife got people in their work, and what I mean, all that stuff. So it's really interesting. And then, like you said, I'm sure it's true for lots of people, right? When you either can't go out because restaurants are closed, we had a bunch of that in Michigan for a long time during the COVID thing, or just, people trying to be careful and spending more time at home and, taking on, hey, we're going to make some food, or people that didn't really know how to cook trying to learn because now they got time on their hands, right?
Yeah.
Let's go do something that is fun and that I can eat when I'm done. So it's kind of created this interesting perfect storm, it feels like, for the whole kitchen scene.
Yeah, it has, and it is really, because I like to cook as much as I like to make knives and as much as I like to eat. So, it's been really fun for me too, that there's all this passion behind it.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're really a year in, but many years with making knives in general. What advice do you have for makers wanting to do the same thing? Guys that are out there doing this part-time and, I don't know, maybe I should do it full-time. I think I have enough clientele. What's your advice?
Oh God, don't. No. I mean, I would say that, I'm also like a very like fiscally conservative person, and it also took 20 years in me getting laid off to actually start making knives full time myself. So I'm not really sure that I'm the best person to ask.
Gotcha.
But I would say just work on making a great knife. Like, work on making a knife that's like clean and works and, is good. Like, and that's, in the world of the internet and TV shows and stuff like that, that's a big step that people just skip. Like, work on just being good. Work on your fundamentals. Like, and this is something that everyone just ignores completely when I tell them that. So, it's fine. But that would be my advice.
I think follower count's a little more important than.
In reality, it is. But
right.
Yeah,
that's rough.
Two things I take away from what you said, Nick. Your first take, don't. Honestly, that's not bad advice.
No, it's good advice. Yes.
No,
yes.
It really is, because knife making as a hobby is very enjoyable, and when it becomes your work, not everybody can do it. It's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's not bad. Second, your advice to work on the fundamentals. So often I see people buy Damascus and Mokutai and all these materials, and they don't have the fundamentals down.
Right.
If you can take simple steel and simple micarta and make a beautiful knife, then you're ready to start working on the other materials.
Yeah.
But until you can do that cleanly, you're just wasting your money and your materials and your time.
Yeah, but unfortunately, that's kind of been shown to be unproven, because we see it happen over and over.
What's
lots of-
unproven?
that you have to make a clean, simple knife first. I see a lot of knives that, we all have. You kind of look at it and you're like, ooh, but it's dressed up in all the pretty materials and gets sold.
Oh yeah.
So it's kind of a weird world we live in now.
It is. I would say that if you want to do this as a career for the rest of your life, I wouldn't bet on rolling a turd in glitter and hoping it works out for your entire career. Like, I don't know. It might work out. I'm sure it works out for people, but I wouldn't personally want to rest my laurels on that myself.
I don't think it's really economically sound either. I think you're better off taking simple materials and upscaling that versus just getting your money out of your materials. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're taking simple forging steel, and it's your skill and talent that makes it worth something, not the actual price of the steel. You know what I mean?
I think that's the way we look at it, and I think that's probably the way Nick looks at it. I think, to Michael's point, there's danger, right? That decision point, to me, is fraught with really fucked up things, like, right? Hey, I make something and someone tells me it's good. Whoa. Okay, awesome, right? And then I make it with fancy materials and people clamor over how cool it is because it has fancy materials, right? And like Michael said, your follower count goes up, or whatever your version of that is. Your social media score improves, right? Whatever that is. And pretty soon you're believing your own press release. And that's very dangerous, it seems like, right? I mean, yeah, we see people that somehow are making it work, that are making knives that really aren't that great, right? Or that don't have the fundamentals nailed. But at the same time, man, is that risky, right? The market turns weird, or shit slows down, or the money, the stupid, insane, ridiculous money that's flowing in all of our economy at the moment, that shit takes a dive, and those are the people who are going to fall first, I think. Maybe not, but that's my expectation.
Yeah, I agree, and like I get like stressed out about this stuff, and then I kind of realize that like getting stressed out about this stuff, like I've got so many things that I need to worry about my own work, so I try and like every time I get bent out of shape about it, I was like, Nick, think about the things that you're making and how, like, put this energy that you're worried about, the industry and stuff like that, like you put it back into your own shit, and like, I try and remind myself to do that. So that's kind of how I deal with it.
That's very sage advice.
Good advice.
Yeah, I mean, it still doesn't doesn't work out. I mostly bitterly complain. I bitterly complain to my wife, so yeah, about it. So
yeah, well, it doesn't mean you follow your own advice, but
no.
It seems like be your own worst critic is and maybe that goes to Michael's movie reference thing, right? Be hard on yourself about getting it right and sweat the details and all that stuff. We've talked about all that stuff before on the show, but it's easy in this day and age with the clamor in the market for knife and knife related products to drink your own Kool-Aid. I think that's dangerous.
It is, and I've also found myself that surrounding myself with people that are like way, way better than me. They also feel free to remind me of my own insignificance, at every point. So that's a great way to keep you from thinking you're really really awesome. So
those are the best friends to have.
Yeah.
I always laugh when we talk about advice to a new maker. You think about the Jeremy Horton thing. I think Billy had this happen to him too.
Mm-hmm.
Horton calls Tom Mayo on the phone. Hey Tom, I just quit my job and I'm going to start making knives full time. Do you have any advice? And Mayo's advice is go beg for your job back.
Yeah. Classic.
Yeah, love that story. I think he gave Billy the same advice when Billy talked to him about it.
I wonder how many people he's given that advice to.
Yeah.
More than 2.
Probably more than 2.
Yeah, there was an out, and I'm not going to say who it was, but a good friend of mine who had just started getting into this, and like, you know, and at the time, like, you know, he was just getting into it, and he looked, and he lived in Auburn, Maine, and so he went to the American Bladesmith Society website, and he looked, it's like, oh my God, there's a master bladesmith right in my town, and it's Don Fogg. And so he calls up Don Fogg like randomly and says, "Would you look at my knives and see if I have what it takes?" And Don says, "Yeah, bring him over." And so he brings him over, and Don looks at the knives and he says, "Kid, go to college just like your friends. You know, this business, it's not for you. You know." And
wow.
And it was like, you know, and he didn't take that advice, you know, and if you don't take that advice, like, you know, you might have a chance, you know, but
yeah,
you know, like, I feel like we all kind of have to hear that like once.
Yeah.
I think it's actually good advice, because if you really want to do this, screw what that, you know, right? You don't need somebody to convince you to be a knife maker. You have to have that inside of you, and damn the torpedoes, I'm going to make knives and I don't give a shit, right?
It's almost like you guys are talking about the movie.
Oh, boy.
What movie?
Oh, jeez.
But I mean, you shouldn't have to convince anyone to be a knife maker. I mean, that's
no
bottom line.
And that knife maker's doing pretty good work now. You've told me that story before, Nick, and yeah.
Yeah, he's getting there. He's getting there.
Is it a secret
we'll
who it
see.
is?
We'll see. What's that?
Is it a secret who it is?
I don't want to. You know, that's kind of like a real personal story. So I'm not gonna.
Right.
I'm not gonna say.
All right.
I'm not gonna say who it is.
Okay.
I think your point is well said, Tom. I think this is absolutely one of those cases where, like, look, I told my kid this is what they should do, and they didn't listen to me, right? Even though I told them what to do, right? And they went and did something stupid instead, and then they figured out that I was right. Right? It's that kind of situation, I think. You could tell people the right answer, but there's a lot of value in having someone kick you in the teeth maybe a couple times, depending on the person, right?
You know, I think it's okay as long as everyone understands that person is saying this to you with your best interest.
Yes.
in mind.
Yes.
You know, that is really like the big thing. And it's like when someone gives you a critique about your work, like as soon as you don't think that they have your best interest in mind, it's lost. But you know, I think as long as that sort of authenticity is there, I think it's always good. You know, even if it's hurtful in the moment.
Yep. Yeah, we've talked about that a couple times on here, right? About somebody asks you for feedback, right? Hands you their knife, and the good first question is, do you want me to be honest, right? Do you really want my opinion? Because I'm going to give it to you, but make sure you want to hear it. Because not everybody does, but maybe everybody does need to hear it, right?
Yeah. I think, like, at least in the forging world, the magic word is critique. If you say, will you critique this? Like, you deserve whatever you get, you know, at that point, like, you know, like, yeah, So I think that is like the magic world and like the ABS word, the ABS world. So yeah, critique.
Nice.
That's where it gets weird, like online though, because it's like you don't want to be. I don't know. It's like almost if you don't say anything, then it's accepted. Something is like an accepted practice. But if you do say something, you're kind of being an asshole.
Yeah.
So it gets kind of weird sometimes online. Because I'm not going to just be like, I don't like that. That's stupid. You know, the things we think sometimes.
Yeah, I can't, you know, online is a really different thing. It's hard to kind of get get that, like, you have someone's, best interest in mind, over a keyboard or a phone. I think that's a tough one for me.
It's really hard
real
to
tough one.
critique a knife online either, without having it in your hand and looking at the grinds.
Feeling if they actually know how to knock off an edge so it don't turn your hand into a fucking solid blister.
Yeah. 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 Birch just doesn't have appreciation for that TikTok video I made offering him feedback about one of his knives. Just trying to do it using modern technology. Didn't appreciate it.
Do any of you guys really TikTok? Do you guys do any of that?
No.
No.
Hell no.
It's wildly popular, but no.
I kind of thought that I might try it because, like, I've seen people I know do really well, but I've had a hard time, like, condensing anything I do into such a short thing, so I kind of gave up on it. But yeah,
You could take a wild video edit. Yeah, some of the stuff, like you said, that I've watched that actually was informational that I've seen, like, because that's the thing. TikTok videos show up everywhere, right? They show up in your Facebook feed. They show up in Instagram. I don't know. It's pervasive. You can't not see a video that eventually at some point came from TikTok. But seeing some of these things, how fast the edit gets put together, right, to condense it all into a tiny short video is kind of wild.
it is, and it's definitely a challenging editing project for sure. That I'm old now. It's difficult. It's difficult for me.
Well, what do you want me to do? Like a little dance and like smack my hands together and point to little things that say like knife making's hard. I grind twice a day.
Right.
And I'm good.
So much for your social media score, pal.
Oh, it gets weird. I'm okay with my social media score being real low. I don't know. It's almost like I'm trying to suck at social media sometimes. I get very weird about it.
Yeah.
Well, it seems like it's working out for you, in spite of that. So I'd say go with it.
You're wanting to suck, and it seems like it's working out.
Yeah.
What you wanted.
Yeah, you're doing a great job at sucking, pal. Don't
Failing successfully.
don't underestimate
Step
yourself.
away.
Yeah. What
man.
so there's such this crazy number, Nick, of makers. We talked about it, right? This kind of long growing wave of people in the last several years. We talk about it with tactical stuff as well, right? The tactical stuff as well, but certainly in the kitchen world, it's bonkers, right? Way, way bigger. I don't know. Like Michael and I talk about a lot. He'll send me an Instagram post. Hey, check this out. I'm like, I've never fucking heard of that person. I have no idea who that is. And they have 79,000 followers, right? And they're super popular. And, it's like, there's like an entire world that somehow is there and things are happening and you don't even know it's taking place. What do you think? It seems like at some point this thing has to peak out and something happens or suddenly things start to turn. What's your take on that whole thing? Maybe that's in the category of Nick can't sweat that. He's got to focus on his own stuff, but.
No, I think that's a totally important thing to look at and keep in mind. But I would say that, especially with kitchen knives, if you look at the demographic of people in this country that have like $500 to $800 to spend on a luxury item to make their cooking easier, like that demographic, it's a huge number. And yes, there are a lot of kitchen knife makers out there that are not like plugged into the knife community like the way that we kind of think of it.
Yeah.
And so it seems weird to see him like pop up out of nowhere. But I think like the market's huge, and I think the amount of people making, there are a lot of people making kitchen knives, but there aren't a lot of people really making kitchen knives, if like you know what I mean. And I think that the amount of people that are really doing it at a high level is still quite small, and there's a bunch of like discerning collectors out there who really know what they're looking for, and kitchen knives especially, it's another like double-edged sword, and the fact that these knives really have to work, like they really have to work super, super well. There's people have a certain expectation of the way that these knives should perform. And, you kind of have to really know what you're doing. And that kind of weeds out a lot of these, hundreds and hundreds of new makers that you see out there, So
Yeah.
so I don't know. I mean, I think that yes, you're right. There are a bunch of new people out there that are not plugged into the community. And it seems like they came out of nowhere. But I think that there's a lot more people interested than ever before. So I think it's only it can only help the industry at this point. So time will tell, of course.
Yeah, the online thing is a trip just because when you see stuff online, like I think Tom was saying earlier, right? There's a lot of stuff you can't see at all, really, right? Even with good pictures and a bunch, you know what I mean? It's like, I don't know, the stuff has to feel a certain way in the hand with a kitchen knife. I don't know. I guess maybe if you're not doing what you need to do, if you're not hitting the mark, you just won't sell that many, right? Or at least you won't sell them to the same people more than once.
Yeah.
Because I had that experience many years ago on USN where there was a guy, he makes nice knives and he made some nice looking kitchen knives. I'm like, oh, that's really nice. Hey, man, can you make some kitchen knives for me? I'll take 3. I need one this size, and one this size. And I got them and they didn't cut worth a damn. And I'm like, what? How is this possible? And then I'm like, they're almost like fighting knives. They're really thick behind the edge and all kinds of stuff. And I'm like, these things are not good. But, I guess, like I said, you don't buy knives from that same person again because you know what you're going to get. But that's a hard way to do it.
It is. It's a really, and like, obviously it will, and also, these enthusiasts, they do talk to one another. And, I've also had a really good relationship with Eating Tools. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Abe at Eating Tools.
Yep.
And kind of having my knives, on his site, that and having really good feedback about people buying my knives from him has like, kind of, been a comforting thing to other customers saying like, wow, this thing is really going to work like it's advertised, and also like I kind of had, especially with kitchen knives, working in retail, I really had a leg up in getting that feedback from people that really use kitchen knives every day. So I really credit that with being able to make a kitchen knife that actually that really works and works better than a factory kitchen knife, and it's crazy that a like a $40 Victorinox Fibrox chef's knife is the industry standard. But I look at that as, if you can't make a chef's knife that works better than that in every way, why are you making chef's knives at all?
Right.
So,
right.
And a lot of them don't. So I kind of, I know what it's supposed to do, so I think that is a good leg up in that sense.
Yep. Absolutely. All right. Well, you've had, I'm rubbing my hands together because I look forward to hearing this. So we had Laren Thomas on the show, and a couple times now talking with us about his steel projects and metallurgy and all that kind of stuff. And you had some of his MagnaCut material, right? And I know you've been doing some other stainless and other modern steel kind of things. Tell us about that.
Well, okay. I'll tell you that I feel like I've been kind of sold a bill of goods by the forging community. I know. And that bill of goods is that you can't or shouldn't forge stainless steel as a rule, as a categorical rule. You should not forge stainless steel, and it's not true.
This feels like Nick Rossi with Knife Steel Mythbusters 2.0.
I know. You know what? Like, and also, yes, in the sense that if you're expecting it to be squishy and fun to forge, like 1075, it ain't that. Like, if you're going to be forging MagnaCut, which I've been doing, you need a pretty big power hammer and you need some smart tooling and you need to absolutely know what you're doing. And my production techniques have helped me in that sense. Like, but to say that you can't or shouldn't is not true. You can. And is it more difficult? yeah, but this is all difficult. So it's just levels, it's just levels of annoying. And I don't know. I don't think it's all that bad. I think it's kind of fun to forge to forge Magna Cut. Like, I mean, I've got the tools to deal with it, to deal with it appropriately. But I've really enjoyed it. I enjoy forging Magna Cut. I enjoy forging AEBL. My customers like to have that as an option, in my kitchen. Like, I still like carbon steel. So I've been sold that bill of goods, but I've also been sold another bill of goods by sort of the stock removal guys that, simple steels can't be a joy to own and a joy to use and impress you as far as their performance. Like, for example, I've talked about the American Bladesmith Society like mock journeyman test that goes on during the American Bladesmith Society classes, and like I'll see a student literally forge on a piece of 1084 all day long, like 6 hours of chopping away at this poor piece of 1084, and it's like kind of crispy at the end of the day, and it's looking pretty rough, and we harden it and we follow all the rules, and we get some good geometry on it, and God, that thing is sharp as shit, and it will not stop cutting. Like, it'll cut 2x4s until your arm falls off, and like, tell me that that's not a high performance knife. Like, it is. So I feel like I've kind of been sold a false bill of goods by like kind of both sides of the super steel versus forgeable steel, people. So that's kind of where I'm at.
I've been stock removing 1084 lately and heat treating it, no forging or anything, and it's pretty crazy how good it performs.
I mean, yeah, and it's a simple thing, and like, you kind of get roasted for using a beginner steel, but like, does it do what the knife needs to do? Like, does it do it better than it needs to do? And the answer to that is, a lot of it is yes. So I guess the answer is like, if you treat it right, you're gonna wind up with a great product, no matter what you choose. I guess that's the moral of the story. I don't know.
What grinds my gears with Nick Rossi.
Yeah.
He was getting worked up there.
Oh man, was I?
You had that kind of giddiness in your voice. You're like, Bill of Sale.
Spitting the words out. It was wonderful.
Nice. Great.
Fantastic. That's fantastic. So you mentioned the journeyman test. You did your journeyman thing and displayed your knives at Blade Show, right? That was a while ago now.
It was way back in 2012. So
Good
yeah,
God.
yeah.
10 years ago.
Yeah.
So crazy.
No, was it? No. I'm sorry. I might have that date long. I think it was actually 2018. I apologize.
Okay.
Now that I think of it. But yes, so it's been more recent, but it's been a while.
Yeah. So are you still pursuing that path, or that something that was just kind of put to the side for a little while and you're coming back to it, or where's that at?
So I'm unveiling on this show for the first time that I've passed my Mastersmith performance test. So that is where you, and this was like, I did this a couple years ago, so I don't really need any congratulations. But thank you. So that, and it's really like the easiest part of the whole process. So kind of like, who gives a shit, really? It's kind of one of those things where if you can't make a 300 layer Damascus knife and do the whole thing, then like you shouldn't be patting yourself on the back for that, like, in my opinion. But doing the 5 presentation knives, which I've started, is one of the most like anxiety inducing things that I've ever done. So I'm kind of shooting for June to have a set done, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes.
Are you taking on the blade, or?
Yes. Yeah. It'll be taking the blade. So yeah.
Is it the idea that the performance test is more of exactly that, like a specific set of criteria? You pass the criteria, yes, you're good to go. Whereas the other stuff is judged. Is that the stressful piece of it?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, I think for a good bladesmith, to make make a knife that's 300 layers of Damascus, and to chop two 2x4s, and to cut the rope, and to shave hair, and to bend to 90 degrees, like, it's kind of expected of you. You know, that's kind of something that you should be able to pull off without too much trouble. But to be able to make 5 basically perfect knives along with the European quill and dagger, it's a tall tale. It's a tall order, I should say.
Yeah.
And that's why there really aren't so many master bladesmiths. There's only a certain number, and it's a lot to go through. Like, perfection is hard, and like those judges, they can see it. They've got the laser eyes.
So it seems like when we talked, 4 years ago or whatever, when you were on with us last, there was a couple different motivations to do this, right? You were doing stuff a little different than maybe some of the organizations think about or whatever, right? And so this is kind of like prove yourself, or this is a prove yourself to yourself that you can do it thing, or hey, I want to achieve this so that it's good for my business, or maybe all of the above. What's your motivation?
Well, I can say that most of my customers don't care if I have an MS in front of my name. I think that, that maybe used to be something that kind of meant a lot to a lot of people, and I don't know if it does now. But so it is like really very much a personal goal for me. It's kind of pushing myself, beyond my abilities, and trying to get myself to be just better. And it's kind of a luxury that I had the time to kind of put the effort and energy into it. And also, like, it's kind of a dream for me to be an official American Bladesmith Society instructor. And you can only be an official ABS instructor, if you are a mastersmith. And I would love to go to teach in Australia, in South Africa, in Belgium, and Texarkana. So yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool, man.
And Ozark.
That's right. Yeah.
Keep asking for that personal one-on-one.
Right.
Just doesn't show up.
Yep.
He's going to show up in the Monte Carlo, loaded up with gear, because he knows you got a sketchy ass shop.
Got that knife daddy vanity plate.
I've fit an entire knife shop in the Monte Carlo before.
Yeah.
It's got a big trunk. So
no doubt.
Mm-hmm.
Beast, man. Well, good for you. That's what I say. That's fantastic. I look forward to seeing how those knives come out. No pressure.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
I love, like, one thing I really enjoy about what we do is I personally love seeing friends do well, and how you've progressed, how you've kind of done so well for yourself and what you've built in the 4 years since we've had this conversation. Even it's just kind of crazy.
Yeah.
You've been doing really well, and I like seeing it.
Well, thanks. It's been really, really fun. And it's been great. And I really owe it all to my patient customers and students. Like, they really, it really is because of them that makes this all go. I know you guys feel the same way. So
I would have thrown in my wife too, but that's.
Oh my God! Oh my wife! Oh God! Yeah. I would like to just go out and say that thank you, wife, for all this, because without you, this would not at all be possible. So yes, this is absolutely true. Thank you.
I like to toss something out nice just to run you over the bus later.
Yeah, right. Right. Yeah, I'll edit that. We'll clean that up, Nick. It is just proper segue. I'll lead with that if you really want.
Thank you. I appreciate that. If you could do that.
Oh, that's fantastic. All right, fellas, you got any other questions for Nick? It's a great conversation.
Yeah, man. It was great to have you back.
Nice.
You gonna do any shows this year, man?
Oh, yeah.
Oh boy, am I. Yeah, I'm gonna be seeing you guys out in beautiful Oregon, actually.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Cho has that show with like the craziest lineup I think I've ever seen in a knife show.
The Cho Show.
The Cho Show, yeah. So
and
yeah,
Paul.
there's yeah,
and Nick.
that's Yep. So I'm pretty. Yeah. That's right. And Nick as well. So very, very cool.
Yeah,
It's gonna be a
looking
fun one,
forward
I
to
think.
that one. Looking forward to seeing you too, man.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that'll be fun. I'm really looking forward to hanging out with you guys. But yeah, there's that, and I'm trying to think of what else. I'm not able to make it to Texas. I'm gonna try and crunch for that whole Mastersmith thing. Yeah, other than that, just teaching workshops, and I might do a few local things. But other than that, that's all that's on the docket.
So the show we're talking about when we mentioned Billy Cho and Nick Rawl, for folks not familiar, Billy and Nick, both friends of the show, former guests of Mark the Maker, they're putting on a knife show called the Pacific Northwest Custom Invitational. And that's going to happen on July 23rd out in Portland, Oregon. And like Nick said, killer lineup of makers. And I think a bunch of people we know are going to be there. I got to enter into significant negotiations because I think my nephew's getting married that weekend, that same day. So I got to sort out what to do. Maybe I'll be represented via FaceTime at the wedding. I got to sort that out.
Oh man.
Something. Maybe I'll send a hologram.
Ooh, that'd be a good one.
Yeah. Sean will help me work that out. Come up with a holographic
I
image.
totally got the fucking tech expertise.
He's the
for
fucking
that.
professor, adjunct
Yeah.
professor of holograms.
Dude, the teacher can write you a note.
Oh, excused by my professor. I like it. This is, see how this can come together. I might be able to make it to Portland still. So yeah, that should be a really cool show. Billy and Nick are connoisseurs and friends with a bunch of the makers, so it's going to be a good event. So for people,
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
their
so many heavy hitters on that lineup. For real.
yeah.
Since we had him on the show and you talk about this lineage and the tree, this sort of our show too.
Oh,
We should let them know
maybe.
that.
We should.
I mean, technically, yes. I think you can say that.
It's our
Are you-
grandkid.
Are you looking for Knife Daddy credentials for the Pacific
Pretty much. That's what I'm
Northwest
after.
He just wants one person somewhere to call him Knife Daddy.
Mm-hmm.
That would absolutely make his day. All right. I'm making myself a note, send Birch a text tomorrow.
Easily amused.
Easily amused. Yeah. All right. Fellas, you guys got anything in the shop you want to talk about before we sign off? Anything happening? I think most of you guys are planning to go. I think Tom's going to be a filthy brown bagger at the show or something I heard. I don't know what the real story is there.
The usual.
No, I'm just gonna go hang out, man.
Oh, sure,
couple-
pal.
A couple things in his back pocket and a Subaru Outback or whatever it is. It's-
Quote, deliveries.
I'm not even. I don't even think I'm gonna do that.
Okay.
Billy's trying to get me to do it, but I'm like, I just want to hang out.
Well, curse you
That-
for
that-
wanting you to have an unsullied good time.
Right.
Yeah, I know. It's like it's almost like you might go to a show and actually have a good time. So yeah,
Ew, gross.
yeah.
I'm not
terrible.
having that shit, but
I always have a good time. Period. I love going.
No,
to
me
shows.
too. Me too. I know.
This is in like a big shipyard where they dismantled ships and stuff. And so I bet Sean's going to be up in the rafters with a giant spotlight. And he's
We need
like,
to get
boom, put it
Derek
on
to
top.
come, and we could do paintball. Like
Derek is coming.
He is coming.
pre-show.
File this under terrible ideas.
Mm-hmm.
That would be a
Terrible.
fun place to
Awesome.
play paintball.
It would, but this is like the Maker's Mark whiskey people asking us if they wanted to do an event with us, and we'll provide the liquor and you can invite all your friends to come and do the show live. It's like, oh my god,
Oh my god, that would be so rad.
it would be crazy. And probably I told them they would have helicopters with law enforcement rappelling off ropes to come control the situation. It would may not work out the way that they think it would, but
Yeah, much tear gas would be expended.
But some of those officers would also be customers.
oh yeah, right, exactly, right. Imagine getting batoned by one of your customers, Birch. Fucking clubbing your head. That would be rough.
Ralph just going at me.
Exactly. Right. He might just do that for fun.
Yeah.
All right. Well, very good discussion, Nick. Thanks again for taking the time to join us again. The working title for this show is Episode 84, The Return of Rossi.
Yeah, I like it. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me. It's always fun to chit chat.
Yeah.
I like Nick Rossi 2 Forging Boogaloo. How about that?
or Nick Rossi 2, The Quickening. I think that would be another good one.
The Nickening. Ah!
The Nick.
Ooh, yeah, cool.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll see how it actually gets labeled.
You should add this to the end. See if anyone's listening to a little outtakes of the naming of it.
The naming of the show, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Bonus content. Nobody's listened this far. They can't take it.
No, everyone's given up. Yeah.
Sean, were you going to say something?
Dude, something Highlander related that I saw online. It's totally irrelevant.
Nothing Highlander related is irrelevant.
All right. Well, I saw a thing saying that they're going to remake the first one with Henry Cavill as the Christopher Lambert part.
Real.
I'm for it.
I will pay money to see that.
Yep.
Wow.
I don't know. I'll see it, but I'm gonna reserve judgment. Like that's just such an iconic movie. Like I don't know.
Yeah,
But we'll
yeah.
see. We'll see.
Well, now who are they going to have play the Kurgan? That's going to sway me. I mean,
I really don't care who they replace the cross-eyed, Lambert with. It's the other people that I'm more worried about.
You have slighted him. You've pointed out his physical challenges in previous episodes.
It's because of my own shortcomings.
My own shortcomings. Well, at least you're honest. All right. Well, thanks again, Nick. We appreciate you, man. And
yeah, thanks, guys.
maybe let's go ahead and schedule it now. In 2026, we'll have you come back and join us again.
Great. I'll try and do something really impressive between now and then.
Yes.
I'll have something to talk about. So we'll see.
Super Master Smith. We look forward to it.
Supermaster.
Yeah.
By then he'll be working towards his Ubermaster.
Mm-hmm.
Grandmaster. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, exactly.
Wait. Oh no, I don't know.
No,
not that.
one.
Oh no.
delete.
Oh god.
Yeah. All right.
You're
Hey,
getting canceled.
right.
On that note.
Yeah, let's wrap.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Thanks to our Patreon supporters, and a big high five to our friend George at amxinc.com for his support. He's been helping us out for a while now, so thanks, George, for your assistance, and we'll talk to everybody next time.
Thanks all.
Thanks, guys.
Take care, folks.
Thank you.
To learn more about our makers, you can find Tom Crine on the web at crineknives.net, in his Facebook group, Crine Knives, or in his Instagram account, at Crine Knives. For Michael Birch, check birchtreeblades.com, Facebook group Birch Tree Blade Works, or Michael's Instagram at birchtreeblades. For myself and the Raygun Bead Project, we're on the web at raygundivision.com. We have a Facebook group called Raygun Division, or my personal Instagram, at @msteiner. For those interested in photos, references from the show, or some discussion about the show itself, you can find us on the web at markofthemaker.com, in a Facebook group called Mark of the Maker, or on our Instagram, at Mark of the Maker. Last but not least, the ultra cool and haunting background music we use for the show is a piece called Noir Guitar by Stevie's Amp Shack, found at the Free Music Archive and licensed under Creative Commons CC BY 4.0. Thanks for listening.